Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Ask Me Anything for the CrossFit Linchpin Private Track, the closed Facebook group. Do this every Thursday. Members submit questions, other members upvote them, and the most popular ones get answered live each week. So let's dive right in. We've got some good stuff here. You know, I say the most popular ones get answered live each week, but now I'm about to violate that and lie, so please don't think that I'm a liar. Because the most upvoted question by far was from Colin, and they ask, what question have we as a group not yet asked that you think we should have, and why? It's a great question, and I don't have an answer for you right now because I'd have to put a lot of time and thought into that. And what I mean by that is nothing leaps out at me right now. So I guess that's a good sign that I can't think of a really important, pivotal question that hasn't been asked yet. But then again, you have to remember, and I know there are some passionate folks out there that have done this, and which is great, listen to every Linchpin conversation. I think this one that we're doing right now will be number 250 something. So there's 250 plus Linchpin conversations out there, each one covering anywhere from 1 to 5 different questions. So if you do the math on that, we've covered a lot of information since day one. A lot of information. So asking, has something never been asked that is actually worthwhile and important? I'm struggling to think of what it might be. There could be something out there, but it doesn't leap into my mind. So I may have to circle back on that. If something pops into my head, I'll mention it next week or something like that. So Colin, great question. I just don't exactly know what that would have been. Okay, here we go. Next most upvoted question from Rusty P. Excellent question. The potential rabbit hole happening, so strap in. With the bench press appearing in the CrossFit Games quarterfinals, do you think there's a likelihood you'll start putting them in the workouts at some point? I know programming heavy bench presses for many people who train alone is risky, but possibly dumbbell bench press. So, we're in the CrossFit Games season. The Open just ended. Now the next phase of competition is the quarterfinals. I think it's the top 10% in the Open. Move on to quarterfinals. I don't know how that works. And then there's either something else or they go right to the games. And it was something like that. So in this CrossFit, the quarterfinals, you need a bench. It's going to be bench press, it looks like, out there. And so Rusty wants to know, with bench press appearing in the quarterfinals, do you think there's a likelihood you'll start putting them in the workouts at some point? I think the most succinct answer I can give is absolutely not. That's probably the clearest, shortest answer that I can give right there. And that succinct, short answer is not intended to be rude. Please don't take it that way. It's just short, direct. And it's also very, very well thought out as to why that is. So here's the potential rabbit hole. That's just going to be a lot of off-the-cuff, real talk. So please pardon me if my thoughts are not as well fleshed out or polished as they potentially could be if I went through this 2, 3, 4, 5 different times in my head. So I'm gonna give you my just a bit more insight as to why my answer is absolutely not. So another way. So here, so many different ways to go. So first of all, I understand probably far better than most, what the point of the Open is, what the point of the CrossFit Games season is, what they're trying to do to crown the fittest, what has to go into creating the workouts, all that sort of a stuff. I've been on the other side of the curtain for that, to include I have programmed events for the CrossFit Games, for Masters age group online qualifiers, so I'm very, very intimately familiar with why certain things happen, the role they play, and all of that. and I understand why it's something like the Open or quarterfinals is cool, right? It can be fun to take part in. It can be a nice community event. It can get people fired up. They decide to attack a certain workout, not because the workout literally has any more significance than any workout they did for the rest of the year. 3 weeks in the Open, one workout a week. There's nothing special about those workouts. And I'm not saying that to diminish them, but my point is the only reason that they become, I don't know, anything is people, for whatever reason, decide to make them special in their head. I'm going to try extra hard on this one. I'm going to really stomp the gas on this one. And good things can happen because of that. So-and-so got their first bar muscle up, or, fill in the blank with whatever particular achievement happens because a certain athlete just decided, I'm going to make this workout, which is really just like any other workout I did all year, extra special in my life today. I get that. That's cool. It's great. And I truly mean that. All of those aspects about the Open or about quarterfinals or about, fill in the blank, any competition that you want, are positive attributes. Like many things in life, there's always two sides to a coin. The other, potentially not positive side of it is just because a certain whatever pops up in the Open, pops up in quarterfinals, or pops up in whatever, and Rusty, I'm not saying this is you, I'm speaking in generalities of just what I've observed over the past 16 plus years in CrossFit. There can be this unwarranted attraction to the general CrossFitting population. Well, this popped up in fill-in-the-blank competition. This must be really important now. This must be something that I should do more. This must be something that, for whatever reason, the mothership and the powers that be have deemed to have special significance. I should give it special significance. That is not true. And that is it's just a path that doesn't lead to where you need to go. It's just not, it's not what it is. And just because something makes an appearance in the Open or in the quarterfinals or in the whatever, it's like a cat chasing its tail. So now everyone's like, we should start programming these more. Wall walks. They've made an appearance last year in the Open. They made an appearance this year in the Open. The wall walk must be the new, I don't know, fill in the blank. Got to do them. And it's that sort of stuff that is just an unnecessary distraction. And if there is a potential downside of something like that is when people do make certain events or competitions or whatever, they decide to give those events a certain amount of real estate in their mind or their attention span. It can drive what they do unnecessarily and unwarranted, quite frankly. This is not supposed to say, I don't really care what they program in the Open. I'm not training for the Open. I don't really care what they program in quarterfinals. I don't really care what they program at the games. Like I said, I've been on that side and I know what's going on. And so I can tell you with all the honesty and clarity in the world, you don't have to let it distract you from what you do on a regular basis. Enjoy it. Watch it. Love it. Be a passionate fan. Root for your favorite people. Want to throw your hat in the ring in the Open? Throw your hat in the ring. Have a blast. And then we'll get back to what we're doing. There is a reason we say, Linchpin, we do what's effective, not what's popular. I understand that something like the games or the Open or quarterfinals or your favorite games athlete or whatever, there's an allure, there's a seduction there. And that seduction, it's intoxicating and it draws you in and you want to mimic whatever it happens to be. A lot of times it's not the best course of action. So we will continue to do what is effective and not what's popular. And this has been covered before in previous Linchpin conversations as well, and it's been articulated very nicely, as a matter of fact, from the individual programming quarterfinals who put bench press in there, Adrian Bosman and whatnot, which is, one of the points of what we do in CrossFit. Beautiful, pure, effective GPP, classic CrossFit now as it's called, for whatever that means. Getting the most bang for your buck out of the shortest time that you can spend in the gym, and doing this group of movements that programmed intelligently through variance and loading and reps can give you the broadest adaptation. You want to do the minimum, as Adrian says, the minimum amount of fitness, the minimum amount of everything to get the maximum amount of fitness. That's what we're doing. So now, rewind to the question. When I see something like the question, which is, are we going to start doing bench press more? Having framed it that way, this is how my mind, as the program that I am, this is how I see the question. Bench press is just simply a press. In the grand scheme of all the ways that I can have our members press weight, compared to unweighted presses like the push-ups or ring dips, or overhead pressing of strict press, push jerk, split jerk, stabilizing weight overhead with an overhead squat, snatching, things like that, clean and jerk. The bench press is just one of those many ways in which we can press. And now the question saying, will we bench press more, in my mind, could also be worded, hey Pat, will you more often put in a movement, the bench press, which is not as effective or beneficial as other presses? That's why, when framed that way, my answer is an easy and unquestionably absolutely not. Because the bench press is now going to become, quote unquote, extra cool, as if it needed to become cooler in American society, because it made an appearance in quarterfinals. And again, if I'm trying to give everybody the appropriate dose, maximize your time in the gym, and the movement selection that we choose gives you the broadest adaptation possible, the overwhelming majority of the time, we will be pressing in something other than the bench press because of the bang for your buck, because of the transferability, because of the head-to-toe strength adaptations. And that's not to say that the bench press is without merit, that it has no utility. We don't live in this simply binary all or nothing sort of a world. As myself, somebody that has bad shoulders from motorcycles and military wrecks and struggles to go overhead, I regularly have to do quite the opposite. If we're going overhead, I probably have to substitute that with pressing in a different direction. And it may often be, in my garage, a dumbbell bench press. I've been very open and honest that I will regularly do something like that if going overhead just doesn't feel good that day. And every time that I have to make that decision, I am acutely aware that I am choosing an inferior movement. And there you have it. But I do it because going overhead maybe causes me pain that day. And so therefore, in that grand scheme of making a decision A or decision B, I'm not going to choose the movement that causes pain. I will therefore press in a less effective manner, but yet giving me a pain-free range of motion that still gets in my pressing that day. And again, I'm not saying the bench press has no merit, right? But if you had to say, hey, for the rest of your life, even though I just said we don't live in a binary world, now for the purposes of illustration, I'll give you a binary example. Hey, for the rest of your life, you can either bench press or you can go overhead. You've just given me the easiest choice in the whole world. Overhead, period, end of story. The loading, even though for most people will probably not be as much as they could bench press, though not necessarily if we're talking about explosive lifts like the split jerk and push jerk. But the loading is going to be farther away from the ground, farther away from your center of mass. That in and of itself requires more athleticism, head to toe strength to support that overhead and get that there. The range of motion needed about your joints is significantly more for overhead compared to bench press. The midline stabilization component, while both require midline stabilization, I fully understand that, it's not even comparable because you have to be rooted from the overhead position through your entire torso, through your legs, to your feet on the ground, because you're not laying on any sort of other apparatus that can give you the absolute slightest assistance to stabilize your midline. Period. End of story. The overhead lifts are the king, unquestionably the king when we're talking about those two. And the transference, you could not bench press and just develop an amazing shoulder press, and push jerk, and you wouldn't be bad on the bench press. But the same is not true the other way around. If you just bench press and you neglected the overhead lifts, you would be woefully ill-prepared right there. And here's the other interesting thing about the bench press, or really anything in general. Play this little game in your head. If you're going to do something with your very precious time that you have in the gym, it better really pay off for you, right? Whatever it happens to be. Or in life, that if you're doing something that's meaningful, that's important, that moves the needle, that drives whatever it is forward, it should be really noticeable if you stop doing that, because the hole that's left for it should be so blatantly obvious because whatever you're doing was meaningful. And I'll give you an example with regards to fitness. If you, not just the back squat, but if you stopped going below parallel, you're like, I'm not going to go below parallel. That's it. No more below parallel for the rest of my fitness days. You would notice that. I don't know if it would take 1 month, 1 year, or 2 years, but the lack of strength in the lower extremities by not going below parallel would have an effect on what you're doing in your real life, in sports, in athleticism, in hiking, your explosive power, your hip drive, the whole 9 yards. It would leave a huge gaping chasm in your fitness that was, you couldn't ignore it. As an American male, the bench press is like the messiah for whatever. Now, as 16, 17 years into CrossFit, I realize that is a bit of a confection. That's a bit of, it's an illusion. I don't know why it got this amazing status, but it is, especially for the American male. I mean, what can you bench? That's before CrossFit. In CrossFit, it's what's your Fran time is the equivalent of what's your bench in the regular world. People just, what do you bench? What do you bench? What do you bench? What do you bench? That's what we got to do. Got to get the bench press bigger. So as an American male, the bench press had a huge spot in my life and in my physical fitness regime for years. And it got incredible dedication and importance. And then, shifting into another society of, some intense machismo as well, the United States Navy SEALs. So take all the things that are near and dear to the male society anyway, and now just bump it up by 100. The bench press was very important to me, and very important to the group of people that I hung out with for a profoundly long period of time in my life. And back then anyway, like the metric was 300. You either had a 300-pound bench press, and people were like, nice, solid work, you're strong, you're fit, 300-pound bench press. Or you were working towards a 300-pound bench press. Like, that was it. That was the dividing line. And I worked my tail off, as so many men tried to for so long, until I finally got a 300-pound bench press. And I remember where it was. I was on part of a deployment with the teams, and we were in South America at a commercial gym. I remember the day. Got a 300-pound bench press. Well, here's the interesting thing. I mean, I worked so long, for so hard, I poured so much time and energy into the bench press. Well, now for the last 16 and a half years is, without question, the least I have ever bench pressed in my entire life. It might happen, I was going to say maybe it comes up programming like twice annually or something like that. But I get in pressing overhead. I get in pressing with the push-ups. I get in pressing with the ring dips. I get in all kinds of pressing. I just don't slide under the bench regularly. But like I said, I do grab some, dumbbells and do some dumbbell bench press when I have to modify what would be an overhead lift for most of us. But here's the interesting thing, getting back to what I was talking about a second ago, where if something is so astonishingly mission critical that if you stop doing it, it should be amazingly apparent that you have made a grave error, right? Well, in the last 16 and a half years, I really have hung up the bench press largely. And I can say with all confidence, this applies to all my friends as well that get into CrossFit, there has been absolutely zero, literally zero, negative effect in any physical activity I have ever done on any one of the many, many experiences that I've had in the last 16 and a half years. So now I have to look back and say, should I have given it the crown that I gave it for as long as I gave it? I have to think probably not. So again, I'm not saying the bench press has no utility, but I'm saying if you're telling me we've got to make choices that drive the needle the biggest way possible, there's movements that I'm going to give more emphasis to and movements that I'm going to give less emphasis to. And that kind of is that's why Linchpin is an interesting community, right? I am here to give the lessons learned and what I have experienced and ideally pass that knowledge out to everybody, and hopefully in a way that is well received and makes sense, and keep everybody focused, because the world is full of a lot of shiny distractions, and most of them are distractions. Most of them are distractions. You would be an amazing person or potentially a better athlete. Well, I can't quite say that. I understand you might watch something on social media, get you fired up, and you go in the gym, you push a little extra. Like I said, I get that. There's some good stuff. But a lot of stuff that you see in a competition or on social media, whatever, it's just a shiny distraction. It's a fishing lure, and we're all here to help keep each other sane, rational, and focused on what is tried and true and will truly move the needle forward for you. So, yeah, that's, I guess that's my answer to that. I think it's a fantastic, fantastic question. Like I said, a potential rabbit hole. Wow, I actually look at the clock now. Maybe that was a bit more of a rabbit hole than I thought. So, Rusty, that's it. And I see Rusty chiming in. Thanks, appreciate the explanation. Advice is always here. My pleasure. And like I said, all of that is intended to be delivered in the most truly just kind and ideally informative way possible. And again, nothing wrong with the bench press. Just we've got some choices that are pretty darn good. All right, so that was a great question there. Let's see. I think the next two is one from Ken and one from Ashley. Okay, Ashley, you get the next most upvoted question. Ashley S., do you ever test workouts you write for us before programming is released, or do you experience them fresh with us every time? Great question. So, it's a little bit of a mixture of both. Nothing goes out to the Linchpin community that I'm not truly certain will deliver what I think it will deliver in the manner that I want it delivered. Okay, so, and what I mean by that is, a lot of times, the combinations and things that we're coming up with, for as long as I've been doing this, in many combinations of seeing things happen, like it makes sense to me how these things will interplay, and even how they'll interplay based upon when I look at what we did the 1, 2, or 3 days previous, and how the human body will be feeling and what that will lead to today, and how this thing will interact with this. Okay, we're going to put GHDs along with the rope climbs. What's going to happen with the hip flexor here when they bring their feet up on the rope? Like a lot of yes, it makes sense. And how long should it take? The time domain. What's the loading that makes sense for the rep range? That all makes sense to me now. 99.99% of the time. But that's because it's only because I've honestly been doing this for a long time, right? You can't buy experience. And this wasn't the case in year 1 of programming, or year 2, or year 3, or year 4. Like, as your knowledge base and experiential base grow, this grows as well. I mean, I was programming before I started CrossFit Linchpin, but CrossFit Linchpin came out in 2014. So what is that? 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. We're in 22 right now, so we're in year 9. So let's just say we won't count year 9. 8 years. 8 years times 52 weeks a year times, let's say there's 5 workouts a week times 5. Okay, that's about 2,100 workouts. It's a lot of workouts to write, to program, to just have everything kind of work how it's supposed to happen. In the overwhelming majority of time, that goes just how it should. But absolutely, if I'm putting together a workout of thrusters and pull-ups, we know how that's going. Or time on the bike, or deadlifts and something else like gotcha, or interval training. But if every now and then, and this happens every now and then, there's a combination, I can't let my ego get in the way. There's a big thing, okay? So I've been doing this a long time, blah, blah, blah. Don't let your ego get in the way. Don't think that you have the potential not to make an error. That would in itself would be a huge mistake. So when I'm creating something, making something, and something's playing out, and I've got it there on the paper, and I'm looking at it, I know from being honest with myself, I'm like, yep, I know how that's going to go, and I know what it's going to take, and I know, whatever. But every now and then I look at it, I'm like, that's throwing me for a loop for whatever reason. I can't quite figure how this is going to play into this or whatnot. I will absolutely go into the garage, get warm, and do as little or as much of work as I need to with those movements, those rep ranges, those everythings, to undoubtedly make sure that what is going to be served and presented to the Linchpin community, of the world, quite frankly, is exactly what it's supposed to be. Because nothing is more important than that, in all honesty. I mean, that is everything. That's everything. The workout of the day, that beautiful symphony of movements and interplay and loadings and rep ranges and time domains that not only stands alone, but then has to work with what happened the day before and what will come the next day. Like it's this beautiful choreography, this beautiful symphony. Nothing's more important than that. And I take it profoundly seriously to make sure that it is exactly what it's supposed to be. And that is why, that's why programming well, as far as I'm concerned, it takes a really, really long time, because you just can't scratch some stuff down on paper and hope for the best, So, yes, so great question. Let's see. There was one more. Ken T. Here we go. When looking at a week's worth of programming, outside of a high-skill movement, what things do you look for to select a good not-for-time workout? So, well, Ken, you hit it. You hit the nail on the head. So once a week, in case anyone's unfamiliar with it, we do a not-for-time workout. And as I always say, and I hope this message gets out there, you are authorized to do as many not-for-time workouts as you want every week for the remainder of your time on this planet. Have at it. But some people won't do that unless we specifically put one in once a week, so try to do that. And so, Ken's question is, outside of a high-skill movement, what things do you look for when I select them? So, Ken, you've spotted the elephant in the room for sure. And a very good choice for a not for time workout is something which is a high skill movement. And high skill, it can vary on the person, right? So, but let's just say something like, double unders may not be considered a high skill when compared to a squat snatch, right? So everything's a bit relative. But double unders are a high skill movement when you think that a tremendous amount of people struggle with them. And so if something came up that had a high number of double unders in it, that in and of itself might be a good choice for the not for time workout that week. Because, again, that's why not for time is so cool, right? And one of the things that we do here at Linchpin is, but people love the clock, and the clock is wonderful. Trust me, I understand the benefits of the clock. But I also understand it's easy to get brainwashed into thinking that you won't get fit without running a clock. We're on a slippery slope there. And so just giving people the grace for them to give themselves the grace to say, hey, you know what? Allow yourself, let's say maybe there's multiple sets of 50 double unders in a workout, and you're the sort of person that you can do 3 in a row, and then you trip 3 times. Then you get 5 in a row, and then you trip 4 times. Then you get another 4 in a row, and you're happy, and you have 2 trips. And instead of, if you do 50 unbroken double unders, that might take you 30 seconds. Maybe you can do 50 double unders, but it's going to take you 2.5 minutes. Well, that's 5 times longer, right, than somebody that can do them unbroken. That's a significant difference. And now if we're talking over the course of 2 or 3 rounds, you could be 10 minutes behind somebody else on this workout just because of the double unders. And so if you are always running the clock, now you just try to do the double unders, your time's 10 minutes slower, you're going to see yourself on the leaderboard, your place falls, you feel like a failure, you start to hate fitness, you get frustrated. That's not a good place to be. So if we can get it across to people of like, look, it's okay. It's okay. Every now and then, don't run the clock, and you're just going to give yourself the opportunity today to just work double unders into your workout, and that's okay. And you can either just let doing 50 double unders, if we're continuing with this example, take however long it takes, or you can give yourself some sort of metric. You can say, you know what, I'm just going to look at the clock. I'm going to run the clock, but not do it for time, right? There's a difference. I'm going to run the clock, and when it comes time to pick up the jump rope, I'm going to just do as many double unders as I can in 90 seconds or 2 minutes or whatever time frame you choose. And then I'm going to set the rope down and move on to the other aspect of the workout. That's a great way to kind of strike that middle ground to, well, I don't have beautiful double unders, so I'm never going to put them in a workout. I'm always going to do single unders. To, I'm so frustrated because now this took me so long, because my double unders took so long. That not for time option is a great way to do it. So that is certainly something we can do. If there's something like a handstand walk or a lot of handstand walk in a workout, that can be another great candidate for a not for time workout, because again, practicing your handstand walk on your own or when we put it into accessory work, that's a great thing for sure. But there is benefit to having yourself do it in the actual workout, but in a way that, again, isn't going to, because we're trying to help the athlete both physically build their body and mentally remain happy and content and enjoying working out, or they're not going to be around in 6 months. And that's not what we want. We want people working out for the rest of their life. And so we can't have them be burnt out. We have to do something which is sustainable and good for them mentally. And frustration is not sustainable. So if there was a lot of handstand walking, that might be another really great opportunity, because there are plenty of people that can kick up, walk 2 or 3 steps, kick back down, gotta rest. Kick up, walk a couple steps, get back down. Well, it's going to take you a bit to cover 15 meters or 50 feet or whatever it happens to be. But if you're not worried about the clock anymore and you've changed your mindset on that day to now this is a day where my focus is improving my gymnastics, and it just takes however long it takes, that's awesome. Whereas the other one was, today's a day where, yep, there are some other things that I'm doing in this workout, but my focus today is I'm going to improve my double unders. That's awesome. Another good opportunity for a not for time workout would be if we have strict work in there. So that potentially is just another one that's a slight deviation from your question, Ken, because you nailed it with your question where a lot of times a high skill movement might be a great choice for a not for time option. Well, in the grand scheme of things, a strict movement is a lower skill movement than a non-strict movement, but it's more difficult. So a strict pull-up is a lower skill movement than a kipping pull-up. I'm not saying it takes less strength, it takes less skill. The coordination, accuracy, agility, and balance, the opening and closing of the hip and shoulder in this beautiful sequence that moves you through a kip, that's a higher skill movement than just the range of motion required and the neurological components required just to do a strict pull-up. Now, strength is something different. But if we have a lot of strict work in a workout, which we embrace that stuff at Linchpin for sure, right? That's a great candidate for a not for time day, because if there is, there's a workout that we've done in the past, and I won't let the cat out of the bag. Well, maybe I will. It's making an appearance again, not for a bit, but it is making an appearance again, and it was something like 100 air squats, 25 strict pull-ups, 75 air squats, 20 strict pull-ups, 50 air squats, 15 strict pull-ups. It was something like that. It was basically big chunks of air squats and then larger chunks of strict pull-ups, 25, 20, 15. I think that's how the sets went. Well, strict pull-ups are just one of those deals where it's tough to knock out big sets. You have to take big rest. You hit failure and you have to take even more rest. But they're a phenomenal strength building, useful movement. But they can play with people's heads because, again, that clock, got to do fast on the workout, got to get a fast time in the workout. And so I'm just going to kip. I'd rather kip again. Kipping's great, don't get me wrong. But strict strength is so beautifully important that we have to allow ourselves every now and then the time, the grace, the patience, the environment to say, it's okay. Knock out those air squats, you'll get plenty of a burn right there, and then you get a big set of 25 strict pull-ups, and just allow yourself the time it takes to do that. Can you do 5 sets of 5? Fantastic. Did you do a 10, 10, and a 5? Great. Did you do a set of 5, then a whole bunch of 3s and a couple 2s and some singles? Great. All of that is getting you strong, pulling on that pull-up bar. And you just let the clock run, and that's okay. We don't do that every day, right? And that is also part of intelligent programming, is how frequently you should do that, and, again, variance, right? And so, that's another great way to do that. And the last time we did that workout, I think that was the for time or not option of the week, and it will be also again when we do that. And when we have days like that, mixed with long days that are for time, short sprint days, interval days, all of that works together again in this beautiful symphony that just doesn't happen by accident to ideally propel the athlete forward in a wonderful yet sustainable manner. So, I had one other thing. I need more caffeine. It popped out of my head. What was it? Not for time, strict movements. Dang it. Oh well. All right. It's gone. It's gone forever. It's gone forever. So, but like I said, allow yourself that grace. Oh, it came back to me. Giving yourself that time to, let's stick with the strict pull-up day example. Giving yourself that time that, hey, maybe you're going to do 5 sets of 5 strict pull-ups to get to that first set of 25 strict pull-ups, right? But in order to do that, you're going to have to take, let's just say, 1 minute rest between each one of those sets of 5, right? So yeah, you're not going to be blazing the workout from a clock perspective, but you could also change your mindset on that one particular day and treat that day how you would treat a heavy day. Because what do you want to do in a heavy day, right? You want to get stronger. And you allow yourself to do that, because we respect the heavy days at Linchpin, by doing your lift, and then you allow yourself the time to actually recover. You don't rush back to the barbell, right? And that allows you to lift heavy again. And then you take the rest that your body needs to hit it again. And then good things happen when you respect the heavy days and do that. You could almost think of that workout that I just said in that same manner, but for gymnastics. So you're just building your strength. It's a heavy day, so to speak. You're building your strength on gymnastics. And in order to build that strength, you're going to allow yourself the time that you need before you grab the pull-up bar again. And you're not going to be concerned with what the clock has to say. So that's that. Kelly, I see you. Kelly chimed in. What about high interference days going not for time like JT? I'll never run the clock on JT. Fantastic example, Kelly. Gold star of the day. Yeah, JT would be another excellent choice for a not for time day. So JT, as Kelly said, is just interference through the roof. 21:59 of a handstand push-up, a ring dip, and a push-up. So pressing in one direction, pressing in another direction, pressing in another direction, just hammering those same muscle groups. Now, some people, it's just a wheelhouse workout, and their times astonish me. But for a lot of us regular humans, we're going to have to pack a lunch. We're going to be there for a while. So allowing yourself to just say, hey, you know what JT is? For somebody who it's in their wheelhouse, they're going to have a really high heart rate, because it's going to have much more of a metabolic hit, because they are moving through these things. Now, I don't have that capacity for me, but I don't have that capacity. Why? Well, because I maybe need to improve my pressing. Maybe it's a weak point. So what I will give myself, as Kelly's saying, make it a not for time day. And now JT becomes a day where it takes the time that it takes. I take the rest that I need to take. I'm not worried about the clock, but I get in a tremendous amount of pressing in different directions, modified if I need to do it, right? Maybe I'm doing pike handstand push-ups with my knees in a box, or maybe handstand push-ups aren't good for you, so you're doing a shoulder press. Whatever it is, right? You make a good decision for you. It's appropriately challenging. It takes the time that it takes. And then you walk away from that day better at pressing. That will pay off in the long run of your fitness. Just like the strict pull-up example we gave, just like a heavy day, things like that. So all of those things, and that's why these conversations and podcasts and things like that ideally are important and well received, because there are general concepts that apply. You know, I can program out this beautiful symphony of workouts that will work well for a huge, broad swath of the population. But then if you've been listening to a bunch of these Linchpin conversations and you've got the nuance, the contextual meaning, the why we do these things, you understand the not for time, you understand all these other things that we've said, you will have the opportunity to look at today and be like, gotcha, today is JT. JT makes sense, because when I look backwards, we should get in some pressing in these various planes. We've touched some weights, so today shouldn't have any weight in it. Like, all these, you got it. But now I know that for me, I'm going to replace handstand push-ups with shoulder press, and I'm going to do it as a not for time day, even though Pat didn't write it as not for time. That would make me so proud that when people make decisions like that, it makes me so proud, because I know that they get it, that the light has clicked on. It's like that last scene in The Matrix, right? When Neo's looking down the hallway, and all of a sudden, everything he's just seeing like in binary code, and like he sees the Matrix. He's like, aha, got it. Now I know what I'm supposed to do. So, okay, that was it. That was great. Let's do a few Linchpin shout-outs. I'm going to just pull them out of a hat right here on this folder that I have on my computer. All right, this will be number 1. I've entitled this, The Fundamentals Pay Off. All right, let's see why in the world I entitled it that. This is from Jeff G. As a matter of fact, I think this was posted yesterday in the private Facebook group. This was the overhead squat day that we did recently. And Jeff says, I'm a couple days late on this one, but a good testimonial on the program. When I started, I couldn't do an overhead squat at 95 pounds. The first time I did squat therapy, I had to stand incredibly far from the wall and not touch it on the way down. And the first time I tried a SOTS press, I thought I'd just press my 45-pound bar, and I was quickly reduced to struggling with just a PVC pipe. Now the other day was 7 sets of 2 overhead squat. And now, he's got a video posted, this is my last set of overhead squats at 115 pounds for a double, with a 1 rep max of 135 pounds. And remember, when he started, couldn't do a single at 95 pounds. And now he's got a single of 135 and a double at 115. I can put my toes right at the wall when I do squat therapy, so there's a huge improvement. And I finally got a SOTS press with a 35-pound bar. Just doing this program and focusing on all the above things that are good for you, strength and overhead position and mobility have improved, and he just snapped a photo of himself. So that's the wonderful thing too, and I guess that's probably why I entitled that, fundamentals pay off. I very consciously and very deliberately present to everybody, again, it's not just empty words, what's effective, not just what's popular. The fundamentals work profoundly well, and everybody, whether you're in year 1 or year 10 of CrossFit, benefits from working the fundamentals. But they're not sexy. They don't look great on Instagram, but they work really well, and suddenly your knees, your back, and your shoulders don't hurt so much anymore. And so we will continue to do what we do here. Okay, next one. This is from Clint E. Clint, that's a great first name. Clint, all right, this is from the other day when we had it was like 3 rounds of push press at 60%, some ab mat sit-ups, some bike calories, rest 3 minutes, hit it again. So he says that he almost opted out, almost didn't do it. He was feeling some muscle fatigue, general tiredness. He went scaled, he went light, and he went not for time, and he's happy that he did. So that actually plays really well into one of the last topics that we're covering in the AMA. I love that Clint did that, right? Even though it wasn't the not for time day, he felt authorized and empowered and knew what to do. Hey, you know what? I just feel like moving today. Just moving will feel good. Setting myself on fire with some intensity and loading won't feel good. That will actually put me in a hole because I'm a little sore, because I'm a little tired. But I'm going to scale the weight. I'm going to go light. I'm going to not bring a lot of intensity. I'm going to not run the clock. I'm just going to move. That felt really good. That makes me very happy. Okay, final one. I entitled this one Recruiting. This is from Jackson N. Let's see why I entitled this Recruiting. Let's see. This was, I think the same workout. But anyway, Jackson says, highlight of my workout tonight was getting my neighbor's kids involved. I did the limited equipment for variance sake and made the right choice. Every time I ran by my neighbor's house, I challenged the kids to start a race, and they loved it. With every run, they got closer to my garage, and on the third one, they asked if they could come work out with me. I said as long as their mother was okay with it, and she came over to watch them. I kind of showed them how to do power cleans with 5-pound change plates, showed them how to do some leg raises in the pull-up bar. They had an absolute blast. My second workout, because it was a short workout, rest, and then you hit it again. My second workout was slower than I hoped for, but I spent the time helping the kids here enjoy fitness, and that made it absolutely worth it. My wife and I don't have kids yet, but we hope this was a glimpse of what it will be like. Plus, we got to invite them and their mother over with us, which was the greatest blessing. How cool is that? Absolutely warms my heart and is awesome. So that's it, and I'll end with this, as we've been doing. I'm absolutely infatuated with the garage gym tours that everybody has been sending in. So if you're unfamiliar with this, if you go to the CrossFit Linchpin YouTube channel, go to the playlist entitled Garage Gym Tours, and just like it sounds, get all kinds of garage gym tours from all over the world. So, members of the Linchpin Private Track, film your home gym, garage gym, basement gym, apartment gym, playground gym, wherever it is that you work out. Shoot that video, upload it to YouTube, and then email me the link to info, I-N-F-O, info at CrossFitLinchpin.com, and I will put that on our Facebook page and share it for everybody. It's been so cool. I think we have like 55 different tours on there right now, and I've got another 15 or so unopened emails in my inbox. I'm opening them in the order that I received them, so I haven't got your email yet. I will. I got it, and they're awesome. So that's it. Thanks to everybody for being so cool. We will keep doing this. Today's a rest day. Enjoy it, and I'll see you back here tomorrow.